been a while.
Yes.
How are you? You can put your bags there. What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Kiskapades podcast. Today I have a very special, and when I say special, it means special guest. She's in a very different and, how would I put it, like unique kind of field. But let me just let her introduce herself before, we take it up from there.
Awesome.
So introduce yourself and maybe tell people a little bit about what you do. Just an introduction and then we can have a conversation about it.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah.
So hi everyone, my name is Navalayo Osembo. The CEO of Enda. Enda is a company that's making running shoes in Kenya and is inspired by our country's great reputation in running, and just basically saying, why have we never ever made a running shoe? And that's what we do at Enda. So we are running footwear and apparel brand, and we're just basically working with Kenyan athletes to make Kenyan running shoes.
I heard that, guys. And funny thing, it's so crazy that I don't even know like what made us like communicate and contact each other. It's just such a funny it was just such a funny story, because I'll tell you what, I had heard about like the shoes.
Good to know. I didn't know you'd heard about them.
But just very recently, and I was just like,
I'm curious. How did you hear about them?
No. Here, let me tell you the story. So I'm like, who's this making shoes like in Kenya? Is this even possible? And I was like, running shoes, but this is a very brilliant idea. So how it came up is, and like it's so funny because I'm a very big fan of this thing called sneaker shopping, which is done by Complex. Because I do love shoes.
Now I see.
Yes, I see where this story is going. So I'm a very big fan, and like I think 2 or 3 weeks ago, they featured Lupita. So they're talking about these different shoes, and then this guy called Joe Lapuma, he's very big in like the shoe community. I was like, he's talking about Kenyan shoes. Who are these people making Kenyan shoes that I don't know of? Because I love shoes. Anybody who knows me, they see me doing like, I'm very responsible when it comes to buying shoes. Wrong life choices, and I need to get my priorities right. So Joe Lapuma mentions it, and Lupita is saying like, it's a Kenyan brand. I love it. I support them. Like, what? I need to know who this is. So fast forward to yesterday.
Yeah, it was yesterday actually.
Yesterday, somebody followed my podcast, and I'm like, who is this? I go there, and then I'm like, no, wait, there's no way. And then I go, I'm like, okay, let me just check out these shoes. It didn't register that it was actually Enda. And then I'm like, I get to the Insta stories, and then I see Lupita talking about, I'm like, what? I'm like, yo, the first question that I asked you was,
do you want to be on my podcast?
Yes, do you want to be on my podcast? And when can we do this? I wanted you to be on the podcast like ASAP, because it's just such a coincidence. But that's my story. I don't know about your story, how you actually got interested in my podcast to follow me.
Actually, I knew about you from a friend of mine. Shout out to James, Rosie. So I was just basically telling her, I'm looking for people who are really good with videography, photography. I just want to know how the space looks like, especially people who are Kenyans. And would you be able to at least just give me a rundown of who's in the industry? And the first person she sent was the Kiss Bandit. And I was like, who is this Kiss Bandit? Why are they called Kiss Bandit? And then I started reading up, and then I discovered there's actually Kiskapade podcast. And then I was like, okay, this looks interesting. And then I went to your page, and that's how I followed you. Because sometimes I also follow stuff just so that I'm aware of what's going on.
To know what's going on.
Yeah.
Were you going to send a message like, yo?
I was still thinking.
Hesitant. You're like, I'm not so sure about this person.
I was still scoping from afar,
And I'll tell you another funny story. Actually, last year, I shot a documentary with a friend. And we shot he's from Saudi Arabia. We shot a documentary in Iten.
Oh, wow.
About long distance runners.
Interesting.
Yes. So do you see how this is like almost like fate?
Yeah, I
It's
think
so
so.
it's so crazy, and I really respect this space that you got into, and because it's an untapped market,
Yes.
and two, it's like it's just homegrown. Plus, that's what Kenyans are known for.
Exactly.
So let's just go to a little bit of a backstory, because like in my podcast, it's all about the 4 pillars of life, and we also just want to understand what shaped you to become the kind of person you are, and how you got to this space.
Okay, I'll try my best.
So let's just start with probably how did you grow up? What were your interests when you were growing up? And just that, what kind of child were you?
I was the perfect child, yeah.
Perfect?
I
Okay.
was very afraid of vibokos. I think I was that child who would do anything than get punished.
Yeah.
So I think if you ask my parents, I think I was very obedient, just because the fear of, which is also something I find very interesting about how we are brought up, and how that kind of spills over into our lives, in the sense of we are very compliant people as Kenyans. We don't like to destabilize anything.
True.
And stability is good, don't mistake me, but I think just growing up and looking back at how I grew up vis-a-vis how I'm raising my own children now, there was less questioning and kind of just doing stuff. I was a nerd, I like my books. I'm still up to date. I like my books. Do not touch my books.
Yeah. Okay.
But I think also the beauty of books is that you get to meet people. You don't have to go somewhere to meet people and to meet ideas. And I think that's what I really loved about books, that you just read somewhere and you could be transported into England even though you've never been there, or go to South Africa, or be in the Mau Mau struggle, and like it's
and
like you have
picture
a front
like
row.
you're almost there.
Exactly. So I was kind of just that kind of kid. And I can't say that my childhood was any glamorous thing. I was a kid who went to school and did my stuff, enjoyed playing up and about. My dad was in the Air Force, so I'm very much a military kid.
Strict parenthood.
I
can only imagine.
It was, but when you grow up, you kind of look back and you appreciate the things that your parents do. Yeah. It's sad that when you're growing up, you're like, why can't you leave me alone? But then when you grow up, you're like, thank God they did.
Yeah, because you needed it.
Exactly. So that was pretty much my childhood. I had a very carefree life.
Okay.
Yeah.
How about like now, when it's a bit closer to, let's say, in uni, what did you pursue? In fact, let me ask this before we go to uni. Or maybe it applies after uni. Okay, in uni, what did you study?
Okay, so I studied law. I went to University of Nairobi, Parklands. I always wanted to be a lawyer after watching Ali McBeal and all that stuff. It is not what it seems on TV. Big caveat. I always wanted to study law, but before I entered uni, actually, I did accounting. My brother is an accountant, my older brother. So that was back in the day when you had to wait 2 years before you enter university. Kids nowadays will not appreciate how lucky they are.
They don't understand. They just don't know.
You finish school and you have to wait 2 years before you get placed. So those 2 years I did accounting because my brother was like, you know what, you might be an accountant or you might not, but it's just a good skill to have. So by the time I was actually getting into campus, I'd finished my CPA. And luckily enough, I was able to get an internship at Deloitte. So I got an internship at Deloitte from second year. So I pretty much went there every holiday I had. And by fourth year, I was just pretty sure that I could be doing like during the day internship and go for evening classes. And that pretty much shaped me in terms of who I am. I think I got access to a lot of people who are very serious. And I got a lot of mentors who I would not have gotten if I had not been at that particular place in my life. So I think that was also instrumental in just putting me on a path with people who are high achievers, and people who are deep thinkers. Like they're not just doing stuff for the sake of doing stuff. And actually, when I look back, I'm like, I'm so glad I met those people because they challenged me, and they still do in different ways up to today.
And that's interesting. That's from like now your perspective, right?
Yes.
How about like what did your parents want you to be? Because like when we're talking about like old school parents, they always seem to have like a plan for you, like way ahead, like okay, this is what we want you to be.
I'm going to give you a big guess. Like, guess what my parents wanted me to be?
A doctor?
Yeah.
There you go, you see?
Yeah, they wanted me to become a doctor. My dad wanted me to become a doctor. My older brother is a doctor.
Yeah.
So I think it's just that thing of my child.
How many doctors do you need in the family, though?
Right? Yeah, but if you know me, you know that was not I would not have lasted. I do not like medicine, injections, anything that has to do with human suffering.
Blood.
Yeah, that's not me.
Yeah.
So, but I think I was also just lucky that I got my first choice, which was law. So there was very little wriggle room. Like I got what I wanted, and that's what I got called for. So I actually ended up pursuing what I wanted to pursue. So I can say I'm lucky in that sense.
Okay.
Yeah.
But do you practice law?
No. No.
Now you see, I see. So what made you transition and just, take that leap of faith and, and even like, let's say maybe for parents, they're like, what do you mean maybe, like how do you break that news to them, or were they open to you, like just, did you try the corporate world before you moved now to, because we just want to understand how you ended up being like maneuvering to go to the direction and just being the CEO of Enda?
I think it's less to do with where I am and just more to do with my philosophy of what I believe in life. So my mom will tell you, I always tell her, like, life is one. And that's something I am very, I don't know if, at first I used to think it was a bad thing because, we Africans, we are superstitious, we don't think about death.
Yeah.
But I think every day I wake up, I recognize that I have 24 hours. Right?
Yeah.
And I know that I am not guaranteed tomorrow.
Yeah.
So that always gives me an urgency of, I don't want to be that person who gets to my deathbed and I'm like, guy, I didn't do this, I didn't do that.
I feel the same way.
Yeah, my husband will tell you, it drives him insane sometimes. He's like, you're doing too much, like stop doing this. But I'm like, if I can do it today,
why not?
Yeah, let me do it today. So I think that was just the thing. And basically, I stayed in Deloitte for some time. And then I think at that point, I was like, okay, I need to find something more from the industry, because back then you're doing consulting. So you're literally just coming to tell guys what's wrong with their business. So I just felt like it was time to move on. I tried a few places, but I think I still wasn't sure what I wanted to be.
By a few places, what do you mean? I want to know about all like maybe if you experimented with this kind of job, and then you're like, oh, you know what, this is not for me.
Yeah, I did audit and risk management, which was fulfilling up to a certain extent. But then I wanted something, I don't know, I just wanted to feel like I've done something. I don't know how to describe it. Like you just feel like I need to do something that
like
gives
a purpose.
me
Just a sense of purpose, direction, something that's you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I guess that's what I was looking for in different places. So I continued with my audit work, and then at some point I had a chance to. Actually, the funny thing is, I'd say the turning point of my life was a summer program I attended at London School of Economics. Oof. So, yeah, man, it was expensive. It was expensive, and I didn't have the money. And, I don't think my husband and I weren't married then. Yeah. And I was just like, oh my God, I need to go. Like, I had this... I don't know. It was just this thing. You
just feel like that, like it's a gut feeling that this I need to do this. Yeah.
And it was a 3-week program. Okay. So my husband, bless him, he took a loan. We were talking about loans earlier.
Wow.
He took a loan and took me to London.
and you see where the conversation was behind the scenes. I was talking about like how I have like these friends who their girlfriends convinced them to take loans.
I was one of that girlfriend. I didn't convince him. We're not taking a loan to buy something.
It's not a car, and it's not like,
Yeah, but also granted at that point there were some people who are like,
were you married then?
No.
Man, like right now, if I'm dating anyone, there is no way. Like, if there's no ring in that finger, there is no way I'm going to do that for you.
I'm not going to comment because I don't know how this comments will go.
No, okay.
I leave that.
Okay, yeah.
But so I think at that point, I just felt it so deep. Like, I really wanted to go to LSE and just see what is this big school all about.
Yeah.
And I think I'd also read pretty much a lot about it. Kibaki went there, Jomo Kenyatta went there.
Yeah.
So I don't know, I also have a very active imagination.
All the greats though.
Yes, I was just like, I want to go to see this school.
Yeah.
So I went to the summer school for 3 weeks, and I would say they were the 3 weeks that changed my life. I'm not kidding, right? But I'm not saying 3 weeks at LSE will change your life. This was my experience.
No, that's you and what you had, like the motivation behind it.
Yeah, and also just the people I met. I always say those people I met at that class, they are like my best friends to date. Like we formed a bond in ways that I always look back and I'm like, what was it about that course that brought together people who somehow were on the same path, though in different places. And I met people from Mauritius, from Zimbabwe, from Ghana, from Morocco, and it felt like your tribe, you know. I just met this
because you all have like the same mindset and everything, and it's hard to find that.
It's very hard. I always go back and I'm like, I don't know how that lady, the one who was curating the program, picked all of us. But she knew what she was doing. So going to LSE just opened my eyes in ways that I hadn't seen before. We were just discussing Africa, the future, the challenges and stuff like that, and it just gave me this whole idea of I stopped thinking here and I started thinking bigger, you know, like
everybody keeps telling me that, you need to put yourself out there.
Exactly. I just started thinking like we need to do something, because the things that face Africa are of such large scale that we cannot afford to be 54 countries dealing with other tinier issues. We kind of need to come together because there's too much facing us. So anyway, back to the story. I came back from LSE. That was in 2012. And in 2013, it happened that LSE, that the program that I went for, transformed from being a 3-week program to a master's program. So I was like, oh my God, I'm so applying.
You have to go back. I
want to go back. But the beauty, I always look at that step and I'm like, I think the purpose of that 3-week course study was to put people in my life who would help me along the way. And so when I applied, all my friends were like, oh yeah, this is amazing, do this. I had so much help. And it just happened, you know, like you're like preparing for an interview and you're thinking, I have all my documents together. And then when I go there, I'm like, wait, I didn't know the person who was interviewing was actually someone I met during that. I know, it was such a coincidence. You know, when you walk into a room and you see someone you know, and I was like, oh my God, you should disclose that you know. We did make full disclosure. But I just, you know, like when you go into something and I knew I was getting that thing. Like I just knew, because we had interacted, they knew me, so I was not going to like bullshit anything. And I went to do international development, so I did my master's the year after. And it was 100% fully paid scholarship. Like you guys have no idea how like to live in London without having to worry about costs.
Because I know it's one of the most expensive places to actually stay. And I can imagine school fees on top of it.
It is. And one thing I learned from my time at LSE was just, I kept thinking, how do we make ordinary Kenyans have this experience? Because I'm an ordinary person. I don't come from a rich background. But just, I felt like it was such a privilege to be there that we need to kind of just invest and figure out a way to make our people like be more exposed.
Because you see, I think the problem comes when now you have a very different mindset, the way you're thinking and approaching things, and then the people around you are don't seem to connect with your vision. They're like, what exactly are you talking about? What are these ideas that you're talking about?
People who see what you're talking about.
But like you've said, it's hard. But the only way we can break that cycle is now educating or giving people information to understand how they can get into such programs.
But I also have to say people have to look for the information, because if you're not looking, it's not going to come on a silver
this
platter.
Social media era, like what are people chasing? Are people chasing?
In fact, I say we're in the age of most information. Internet will give you what you're looking for. If you're looking for fishy things, it'll give you fishy things. If you're looking for empowerment, you'll find empowerment. So I just say it's up to you and what you're looking for. But I think I just had this thing that I wanted to be more, and I just felt like I could do more. Anyway, so I went to LSE. I did a course in international development, and then international development also you find yourself in classes where you're like the only African student. And I think the one that changed my life, we were discussing about African politics and all that, and we were talking about East and West. And then you have students from Europe and America just talking about how China is messing up Africa. And the Chinese students are like, you guys should be the ones to talk, right? Look at all this legacy. And I started there, I was like, hello, I'm here.
I'm here. Do you guys understand that I'm here?
And so I had that feeling that people were determining our destiny.
Which is true.
I was just like, why should they get to decide what happens to Africa, as if I, as an African, do not have agency?
And you exist.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So when I came back, I was like, man, I have to do something that's kind of just big and telling the African story. I'm a huge fan of sports. So I started initially, it was a tennis academy, then it transformed into a sports academy in Bungoma.
You started?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
In Bungoma, because, you don't need much by the way, guys. One thing I also learned is people have these fancy ideas. This was just a piece of land my brother gave me, and we built a brick house, and we called students, and we set up a school. It was not fancy, but it's the content of like what you're giving the students.
But here's the thing. How many people will think like that? A tennis in Bungoma? Come on, you see, it's
shout
a
out
very
to the Luya guys. We have muscles.
It's very rare to get people like they just stay thinking. Because if you
exposure,
like a normal person, you tell them like I have a piece of land in Western, what would they say? Like, okay, let's do the maize thing. Let's plant maize. Yeah, there you go. You see.
Full disclosure, we planted maize. It doesn't work.
But you see, for you to just hop onto that with that kind of mindset, completely different. Yeah, so please, and then?
So tennis was actually inspired. I'm a huge Serena Williams fan. That lady inspires me to depths I don't know. And at that time when I was at LSE, I also got, I was in the Wimbledon fever. Like when you go to the trains and they're packed. And everybody is going to watch. There was just this fever. And then I was like, wait, how much money is the winner getting again? And then I'm like, what? Kenya's doing this game. We can totally crush it. But tennis is not like running where you just wake up. There's technicalities. You need expensive equipment. You need a court. So I just basically thought, like kids who can have that opportunity to learn about it can do so much more. How about we do that? So I started with a tennis academy. Then shortly afterwards, it was very hard to do that. I got a job outside the country, and then telephone management, don't do it.
And in Kenya especially, like it's tricky.
It was just very hectic. And then secondly, I think I was like, okay, I wanted to create something bigger, and I feel like, yes, the school is a good thing to start, but you're just impacting like maybe 10, 15 kids.
I feel.
What if you're thinking something big? So I ended up being in a program by YGAP Kenya. They were called Spark by then. Now they changed to YGAP. And basically went through this 1-week program, and we were discussing like how to refine your business. And I always laugh because I went in with a tennis academy and I came out with a sports shoe.
Something completely different.
Something completely different. But what was amazing was that my co-founder was one of the people who had come to listen to what's going on. So when I was sitting in the crowd, I was like, this is what I'm doing, and I feel like Kenya has so much potential. We are barely tapping into it. And after that discussion, we just started to talk, and he was like, I totally agree with what you're saying. Like, it's not fair. Kenyans are used for marketing and all this kind of stuff. And then we started talking. And then our talks led to how can we make, like, if you are to make an impact, what would that be? And then you're like, of course, it has to be running, and it has to be running shoes. And they're like, And then I'm like, you know what? Let's make running shoes. It was such a joke.
Just like randomly, and then you're like,
and then I was like, okay, let's make running shoes. And we were like, like I'm not joking, you know. I'm like, do I
Let's
look like I'm joking?
Let's actually do it. Yeah.
Let's do it. So then we met a week after, and we just talked, and I think after that we just started doing the work, and Enda is here.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's just like, and I don't think people understand, like, have you seen like the way you've explained like this whole process and whole journey until we got to now the step where now you actually came up with the idea of making the shoe? A lot of people don't see that journey.
Yeah, that's true.
And
it's
I'm
not
sure
glamorous.
like
Let me not even lie to you.
It's like a whole leap of faith because you're switching from one thing to another.
True.
Finances are being involved, and it's completely like there's no script, there's no assurance that once I leave this, get into this, this is immediate like success.
Nope.
And if somebody sees like, because like even for me when I saw like just that, because like I'm like a strict like that sneaker shopping thing, I watch it like religiously. So when I was like running shoes Kenya, I'm like, who is this? Who is this? And then I was just expecting, of course, if it's like shoes, to be honest, I was just like thinking like, okay, maybe it has to be like the Chinese. Come on.
No,
because
that's
I'm just
something
thinking.
you're fighting.
No,
because
because
quality goods can come from Africa.
Yeah, because I was like, you know what, this idea has to be from either like I was just saying, it has to be like a white person or a Chinese person. Yeah, it can't. There's no way. Like, explain to me how a Kenyan like just thought. But you see now, it explains a lot. Like even how you exposed yourself to different people.
Yeah, but let me just also interject to you about Kenyans.
Okay, hold on. Yeah. Hold that thought. Hold that thought.
I'll hold it. Yeah, so I was saying that Kenyans, if you look at Kenyans doing stuff outside the country, Kenyans are doing amazing stuff. So I just want to clarify that I don't think Kenyans are the problem, because the same Kenyans who are out there being in the NFL, being the first female, doing all this physics, and I forget this thing. I was just by a lady who got a PhD in, forget the details. But then Kenyans are on Hollywood. Look at Wanuri, look at Lupita.
Yeah.
Kenyans I've been in New York. If you look at Morgan Chase, like all these big banks, there's Kenyans. Like the Kenyans are smart people. Yeah. But somehow I keep on asking myself, why is the smartness exhibited outside there and not here?
And not here.
Yeah. So I think it's just kind of creating a system that is merit-based, a meritocracy where people get a chance to do their thing regardless of their background. I think that's the only thing that limits Kenyans. But Kenyans inherently, I believe we are smart. We just need that opportunity to have a big break.
Because how do you explain, like, when Lupita says, like, she used to go to auditions somewhere in Kenya.
How many of us have been at...
Listen, and get turned down.
Yeah. So, it's not that the turning down process is okay. I'm just saying that we live amongst heroes and heroines. Like, we are those people. So we just need to basically not discount ourselves, but find people who are doing amazing things and really, really support them, because we have our own solutions within ourselves.
And just even think about like now you starting Enda. Like, for how long have we had long distance runners and athletes breaking records in this country?
As long as independence.
Yes. And that's the one thing that makes Kenyans like stand out. Like if you say you're Kenyan, the first thing that comes to people's head it's like long distance running. And like what do you? It just doesn't make any sense how, like, it's taken us that long.
I think people
for a Kenyan to actually
to give
think
credit,
like,
I think there are some people who tried to do this before.
They have?
I think I met like one brand. They didn't really succeed, but we're just talking to them about the challenges of kind of establishing. But again, just to reiterate, Kenya, it's not just about the fact that we're really good at long distance running. If you look at evolution, the theory of evolution, like guys come here to look for the early prehistoric man, like the before Homo sapien was Homo sapien, like development of man started here. So you can literally say development of the human race kind of started here, and the evolution of man from like quadrupedal, like a four-leg person, to like a two, I don't want to use bipedal, to kind of like an upright man. And you'd say Kenya kind of just evolved in running. But again, as I said, it's kind of the space of there are some people who did try to establish something, and it's just a matter of, I keep saying Kenyans just need opportunities based on merit. Like, I want to give you an opportunity because I know you're so good at podcasts, for example, instead of saying, I know like this friend of mine or this cousin of mine who really needs a job, and then they just do mediocre stuff.
Yes.
And even it's not, and maybe they're good at something else. So
positioning people in the right places.
Yes, positioning people.
Not just because we are friends, just put somebody in a nice place where this is where they will excel at what they're actually doing.
And I have to say that theory is basically what has taken me so far in life. So for example, like in LSE, it was more of who am I and how can I compete against other people. And even after that, I got another job in New York. And I always remember like my former boss, and he was like, I was looking for someone who could do the job, And when I got to know him later, I discovered he was just that kind of person who was looking, like, I keep saying, if that process was being done locally, would I have made it?
How? How?
Yeah, I remember once I applied for a scholarship from another organization that was being administered by the government, and I went to some office, and I think the look the guy gave me, I just knew it's okay.
Like, you already know, like, just from...
I was like, it's okay, but I'll still show up and apply for it just because I like showing up.
Yeah.
But I just feel like if we create a system where people just get to shine because they are good at what they do. And that's the best thing about running, that you can't really bullshit running.
You can't.
You're either number one, number two, number three, or you're not. So kind of that excellence, we are really good at that because it's something that the best of the best are able to be visible and to be celebrated and to be pushed forward at the national scene. So imagine if we did that to all other areas of life where it's the best of the best are the ones who are actually doing it, or people who are like interested in what they're doing. Yeah.
And I think now it's unfortunate because even now that you've mentioned that, like we've talked about, like, because even for me, I know like so many of my friends who actually went to college, uni, studied something completely different, and now they're pursuing something completely different because of just like the whole institutions and how they're operating. Like, you get to this point, you're like, okay, I was just doing this degree so that it just gives me, it satisfies me for a certain kind of thing.
Yeah, and that's even assuming you get the degree you want. Job will give you give you what it thinks you should have, and the university. So we don't really have choice. And I don't know.
Unfortunate.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but I always say like the system is the system, but nothing stops you from advancing yourself and kind of just going forward to become a better person.
It's up to you.
It's up to you. The internet is an open treasure chest. True. I always say like
all the information is there.
All the information is there.
Google,
you can
YouTube.
Get into any place. You just need to figure out how. Contact the people. Like there's just so much you can do. Yeah.
Okay, now let's get into like now, Enda.
Yes.
And just the shoes. Let's talk the shoes now. Let's talk shoes. Because to me, it's actually like quite, and I'll keep just bringing it back. It's just quite a big deal that actually Joe LaPuma knew about the shoe.
I know, I was so jazzed. I tweeted him, I was like, thank you so much.
He knew about the shoe beforehand, like even like,
research.
He did his research. And when he threw that at Lupita, even for her, she was like, okay.
Yeah, that was cool.
Like you're not actually just asking me about just Adidas, Nike.
Yeah.
And that actually was among like the shoe list of her priority shoes like to rock when she's going somewhere and everything. So let's just get to the shoe. Like, okay, so how did you like just put all this together? Because we've talked about the journey, but let's talk about the shoe.
So we knew we wanted to make a made in Kenyan running shoe. Hadn't been done before. So first thing we did is just figure out who makes shoes in Kenya. We pretty much went to every place that makes shoes or makes parts of shoes or does anything to do with shoes. We were in there. And then we also realized that we needed neither of us were expert runners.
Yeah.
So we ran, but not to that extent. So we basically did a massive survey in terms of just data collection. From in Iten, in Kaptagat, in LD, in like just asking athletes like if you were to have the perfect shoe, what would it look like?
Nice.
And then that also kind of just dispels. They're like, no, there's no perfect shoe. There are many shoes because you have different runs. So that also kind of, you see how you go with an assumption, and then you kind of,
and they start telling you that's your feedback.
Yeah,
and you're at the home ground. Like these people's opinion really matters.
Exactly.
It's not like Nike sending them shoes. Like wear this for brand placement or an endorsement.
Yeah.
You're actually asking like people from like your hometown.
Exactly. And it's just kind of they're like, I want to feel like I'm not wearing shoes, which is why we make our shoes very light.
They're super lightweight. Yeah. I've actually noticed
very light because they're like, I want to fly. Like I want to forget like I have shoes on. And they gave us all this amazing feedback, and we just use that feedback to distill it into how would a shoe look like. So when you're making a shoe, you have to look at the technical element, and then you have to look at the aesthetic bit of how does it look, so that when we present it to Kenyans, we are also kind of just getting people, like guys also feel that that the shoe actually represents the country. So then we got to work with some designers and some athletes. And
what, the designers, like Kenyan designers, or designers from overseas?
So we did a mix because it hasn't been done before, not just in Kenya, but also in Africa.
You need some expertise,
exactly.
I'm guessing, right?
And then it wasn't just expertise. I'm like, you need to give me a shoe that if I put it on the shelf next to another global brand, it stands by itself.
Yeah, true.
So we did look around for local designers, and there was one designer who basically worked with the design team to kind of add the elements and improvements.
Who's that? Do you want to throw out their name?
I don't know if they want me to say that.
Oh, okay. We'll just keep it on the low until maybe they want to share that, info.
So, and that's also the whole element of Enda, is that we want to make more of the shoe in Kenya. So basically saying, okay, there's a skills gap. How do we get the people who are kind of really skilled at this to come here and impart those skills to guys, so that they're also able to produce these shoes. So pretty much the team was like, we are here in Kenya, there are designers in the US, there's a team in China, so it's pretty much but as I said, the internet, guys, I'm going to overemphasize, the internet is your friend. You can find anything.
It's so crazy because I'm just trying to figure out, you see, like all these people that you've involved in your project, and I just, like, even for me, I'm like an internet person. Like, I'm a strong believer in like just finding information on the internet. But I still can't wrap my head around like how you put all this together. And you're talking of like maybe designers in the States, designers in, what do you call it? Like in China, and also including like also people like in Kenya. But how do you bring all these people together with this common goal, and they are like just ready to jump in the wagon with you?
So the first thing we did is you listed what we were looking for. We wanted someone who has very good experience in making shoes, basically has worked with international brands. We wanted someone who understood why we were making it in Kenya. Right? Because everybody's like, make them in China. Like,
mass production.
In China. So finding someone who also understands why it is important to bring that process slowly to Kenya. Finding someone who has a heart for social impact. By social impact, I mean, for us, the reason why we're doing it in Kenya, create jobs, increase foreign exchange, all that stuff. So we need someone who is not just thinking money, but they're also thinking community development, stuff like that. So we basically just sat out, made a list of all the things, and then just started emailing out friends, stuff like that. LinkedIn was like our treasure trove and
why didn't I get this email?
Why
didn't I get this email?
Well, now it's just.
But we're talking. We're talking now. We're talking.
So we just sent out a lot of emails, and we were introduced to a lot of people. Other people were like, "This is amazing. I'm not interested. I can't do it because of my current job, but you can talk to this guy." So that is
just
eventually
people like
Exactly. And then once we found those guys, they were like, oh yeah, we know this amazing team in China. Like, we've worked with them with projects. Like, so you should definitely talk to these guys. And it was just all based on references. And that's how we ended up with the team. In terms of working together, WhatsApp, Skype, Google Docs. So it's just a very collaborative process. But you can, I keep saying, you can do anything.
Okay, how about like now just like let's say choosing, because I saw there is like the colors, how you're naming them. I mean, like how do you decide? Do you come up with all that on your own?
So
Plus, I've also not asked about like you're the sole founder.
No, we are two co-founders.
Yeah.
Remember I told you.
Or does the other partner want to be like a silent partner?
Not really. Like, we work together because we have markets here and in the US. So kind of just, it's possible, guys. I keep saying sometimes I wish I could have a hall where I could just tell people how to do it. Because in my experience, it was so hard getting information. And I still feel there's such a huge gap because you're being sent from one office to the other. And I'm like, exporting is not hard. It's possible. But you have to show guys how to do it. Because if you go in and you're not sure of what you're doing, you lose a lot of time and money. But
money and especially like money, you know, you're just jumping into deep waters here, and for a first timer, I'm guessing it's like a lot of trial and error.
It was a lot of trial and error, which I was a bit upset because people in Kenya have done this, right? They have, but people just hold information like this, and I don't understand.
And I've been saying this all along, like on my podcast, like we need to. I had what's his name, Emmanuel Jambo.
Oh wow!
Yeah, in the podcast, and he's a really strong believer because he's mentored like so many photographers. And before Emmanuel was like got into mainstream, it was like every time there's like a proper shoot that's needed to be done, like editorial. They used to get like photographers from South Africa, UK, the States.
Like we don't have photographers.
Yeah. but we do. But Emmanuel Jambo came here and he really mentored a lot of people.
Yeah.
And he made it like okay for like, you know, it's actually because Emmanuel is like a perfect representation of like, you know, a black person.
Yeah.
He has all these dreads, tall, dark, and super creative. And he's just like a
Did you hear that, Emmanuel?
Yes. Tall, dark, dreads. And it was a free spirit, how he talks, how he maneuvers. But he came and showed people like, yo, you know, you can actually like, you know, you can do this and you can get paid this much to do this kind of work. So I'm giving you this information and there's the market for you guys. You guys go make your money.
I feel like this is my opinion, by the way, before anybody roasts me. But it's I feel as though we have a mentality of my friend calls it poverty mentality. And not poverty in the physical sense of not having things. But you think if I give you, I don't have for me. I'm like, guys, it's a global market. There is no, it goes as deep and as wide as it can be.
The cake is big. There is
no, that if I show someone, for example, how to make shoes, that they're going to kick me out of the market. We haven't even cut into the mainstream market yet.
How many shoes already exist in the market anyway? Exactly.
So people have to stop looking at opportunities as if it's their bread and butter and that there's no opportunities for other people. And just from my experience with Enda, like, the bureaucracies.
I can only imagine, and we are getting to that. We are getting to that as well.
Yeah, it's just I was like, it's hard to do business as a youth, man. It's hard. It's hard, especially if you don't have people to back you up financially in case something goes wrong.
It's crazy.
If you don't have the information, you're bouncing from one office to the other. It's like guys are doing you a favor. And even just our own attitudes. I remember one office, which I'm not going to mention, but the chick she was almost our age, you know, and it happened that it became 5 o'clock when I was there, but I was inside the place. I swear. She was like, it's 5 o'clock. I'm like, but we were here, we want to do this. She's like, it's 5 o'clock. As in, amefunga kazi.
Can you please just give me like 1 minute, or even ask me like, what do you guys have going on?
I know, but we've
how
been
can
there,
how can I be involved in this? Like, take a minute to just.
I just looked at that and I was like, you have to recognize that you're a cog in a system.
Yes.
And even if that cog is like this tiny, if that cog does not move, nothing moves.
And it's so bad because I think that's what we have, like, there are those people, like, it can be a simple thing as just like a receptionist.
Yes.
Who can ruin like a very big investment in your company. Like maybe your boss wanted to just have like 2 minutes with this person and they would invest.
It's true.
Like even if it's 2 or 3%. But just the receptionist saying no to you,
I think it's the no
changes
and
everything.
Also the how you say the no. Like some people are just very rude.
No, because
but I just kept on thinking, if you're in this office, it's a public office, you're serving the public, it's 5. Surely you can spare us 2 minutes till 5:02.
But listen, we all know about government offices.
No,
have you gone to like the post office at 5? Even sending like just a letter, you get there 5, that person is just like this.
No, guys.
Like they're always like.
Imagine I refuse to believe that.
I know,
that is the representation.
Because but it's up to us to change it.
Exactly. Like we have to call it out, and we also just have to recognize that this development thing, it's an us thing, right?
Yeah.
It's not me succeeding and you not succeeding. It's an us thing. My child may be employed by your business, right?
True.
And we keep complaining about how unemployment is a problem and how all this, but we can't just complain and blame Serikali, whereas we're
the part of the problem. We're the part of the problem.
We're the ones who just kind of keep putting obstacles on each other.
It's unfortunate, but hopefully we just
no, we will.
We get to skip that hurdle.
For the same amount of people who have not helped, I've gotten more who have helped. So I've just highlighted like a bad example, but there's so many good examples of people who I did not even meet. I've never met them to date.
But they're still participating and they're part of
like, said, okay, what's the problem? Let's fix it. And it's all by email. I've never met them other than just on Twitter or something like that.
Listen, how did we meet? We've never met, but look at the information that we're already like exchanging. Like it's just because like you've said, the internet is your friend.
Yeah, the internet is your friend.
The internet is your friend. That's why, like, like even after yesterday, like just when that just follow and me going to your profile, I'm like, what? What? I'm like, yo, we have to do this because like you gave me an option. You told me like, in the next like 2 weeks I'll be busy. I'm like, yo, can we do this tomorrow? Why don't we do it? Like, because I was like, let's do this.
And I told you let's do tomorrow because I have 24 hours. I don't know if I'm going to be here next week.
Exactly.
So if I can do this today, let's do it today.
And even for me, I'm always thinking like that because like I'm like, yo, this person is going to be busy. You have your own things to do.
Yeah.
So if I have like that collective, like just free time and we can sit down and talk about this, make an episode, why not?
Yeah, why not? I think that's the question to everybody.
Why not? Why not?
Why not?
Yeah. And then now, like just since you've hinted on that a bit, let's talk about like just, the problems that, you've had to, or just the obstacles that you've had to like just overcome in trying to make ends like kind of like meet on with Enda.
Yeah.
Like financially, mentally, and because everybody sees like a business and they just see
believe that. There's a backstory.
Listen, they just see you smiling on Instagram. No. I haven't seen any picture of you like frowning.
No, I usually smile too much. I think when I'm nervous I smile. But that's also something I'm trying to be honest. Is something I'm trying to I still don't know. I'm trying to figure out because I don't want people to have this imagination that it's glamour.
It's not.
It's not. There's a lot of sleepless nights, lots of thoughts, lots of discussions, and that's just like a snippet of what happens. So I want to share the story and just say that it's not easy, guys. You have to. There's a lot of personal
because like how you're talking about like even just going to that school, the people you're meeting, people you're talking to on emails. All this takes a lot of time.
It does. That's
a lot
of
kids.
Time.
Yeah. And you see, you have other responsibilities. You have people to actually feed.
And
people who are depending on you.
And all that kind of stuff.
And here maybe somebody else would be like, hey, why is she gambling like everything that she has, time, money and everything?
Life is one.
Yeah. But since we're talking about like what other like just, obstacles have you had to like overcome just, in terms of, pursuing like your
Your
like you
dream?
just passion and dream with Enda,
I-
and how, like, what kind of contribution has, like, just let's say Kickstarter, like, just how much of an impact has it made, like, to just the direction of where Enda is going? Because, like, I saw your target and it's already like phew. And that's always like, once it's past like your target, it's always a very good sign, because like it means people are, like, on your radar, they're watching.
Yeah. But again, as I say, it's a lot of work. Yeah.
Yeah.
So a few challenges, I'll split them into two before I go into Kickstarter. First, personal, and then the business.
Yeah.
I think personal, kind of just coming from a perspective where I'm a mother of 2 kids. I'm also someone's wife, someone's sister. I have a big family and I need to see them.
Yeah.
So there's just a lot of stuff. And I think one of the challenges that especially face women is how do you manage to kind of just balance everything. And I feel, my opinion again, that our society pretty much has a very heavy domestic role on women. For example, I know one friend of mine who was very happy to declare he's never changed his kids' diapers, and I was like, really? And I'm not putting you out there because we had this conversation.
No, yeah,
I'm
true.
just saying that if you need people to explore and to discover new things, people need time. And I feel like I was lucky in different ways that I've been in a family that's very supportive. So at any one point, I know my kids are taken care of, whether I'm late or not, whether I have to travel. I never have to worry about my kids.
Wow. And I hadn't even
And
thought
that's a
about that.
luxury.
And
Oh
it's
my
very
God.
tricky.
It's a luxury.
It's very tricky.
Yeah, how do women do it? I don't know how women do it.
Especially with all the things you're talking about, jobs in different countries, studying and everything.
Back then I was still doing a regular job. Like Enda was my side gig for quite some time.
Yeah.
So that was just a huge challenge, but I was able to overcome it with a lot of family support. And then another challenge was kind of just making the decision to do Enda full time. People need to eat, especially if you have kids. And again, I had my job and I was happy and comfortable. And then there's this thing that every day you sleep, you just feel like Enda is like poking you.
Yeah.
I felt I eventually we had to make a choice as a family in terms of what vision we want to see.
Yeah.
And that was a big challenge before we were living in the US.
Then you guys were living in the US?
Yeah, but that was after I came back from LSE and I got a job in the US.
Oh, so like back.
Yeah, so we moved.
With the kids,
everybody. Kids and everyone.
And this is taking everybody from a whole different environment
and that's
adapting.
Why I keep saying for women, if your partner is not supportive, imagine it. It's just not going to happen.
It won't work.
So to the guys out there, please support your women.
Hey, listen, if I had a girlfriend who came up with a shoe idea, I'd be fully supportive. I'm like, yo,
but remember the loan story.
The
shoe idea is a culmination
okay. Now I see.
Of many things.
Oh yeah.
So it's just I think what
a lot
has
of
been
things come to play.
Helpful for us is seeing the bigger vision, and even that vision, if it's not in line with society's expectations, kind of just saying this is what works for us. This is our vision, and this is what we are going to pursue. So I've been lucky in that my family has been flexible enough to make changes with me as I go, and also to just point out that my kids are small, so I feel like we have some 2-3 years to experiment with stuff before we now solidly settle down and let them pursue their stuff. So that was challenges from a personal perspective, and then from finding money is hard, and I keep saying I just wish people with money in Kenya should support Kenyan businesses.
Because
it's not going to happen.
Because sorry to cut you off, but don't forget your chain of thought. Because I'm just thinking like how it works, like how we see it working, like in the States, even from like things like Silicon Valley.
Yes.
Like the most valuable thing in certain developed countries is an idea.
Yes.
Like if somebody spots your idea, like even whether it's music, somebody sees you online, like, yo, that person can sing. Record label, they already start sending you offers. They see, like you see what Shark Tank is doing. You go in with like an idea, they're like, we want to actually buy 99% so that you can be 1%, because we think we would. It's very good. but we don't need you in this idea. We can run everything and you can still make a certain amount, X amount at the end of the month.
Yeah.
But like
so
in Kenya...
it's true. I think we have two problems. One is corruption. And sorry to say, I feel like we have... This is my opinion. Again, I feel like we have people with money who are not creative. So you're kind of like...
A majority even.
Yeah, like there's two elements. First, I accept that money is hard to make, so people want to protect it at all costs. But then also we have a lot of people with just money sitting in the bank. And there's a lot of our population, so many young people, so many ideas. Young people are very creative. Yeah. But then you have money sitting in a bank and a population with ideas that can't access that money. So funding is a big problem. And I think we have to kind of really assess the structures in place and say, are they working or not? Personally, I feel like there has to be a fund to support people who basically, there's like the business can be split into different things. But even just having someone who has an idea, it's a side gig, they can't leave their job. Having a fund where you're just paying their expenses and you're like, we will pay expenses for 2 years, you just wake up and do your thing.
Even a silent partner who's just like, investing.
It creates
give me 2% and
and also just like I feel like our financial system is set up. It's not even for business, it's set up for government. It's much more lucrative to lend money to the government than it is to lend money to young people or the populace. So you have a system where money is there, but it circulates at the top, and then you have a majority of people who have really cool ideas. I said at the beginning, Kenyans are great. They go outside, they become great.
Yeah, and they just like it's like their potential like actually just blows up.
Exactly. So I'd say funding was a big challenge, still is. That is why we went to Kickstarter, because basically it's just like a Harambe system, but only based on an idea.
And these pledges, like just pledge, and I mean, I don't know how, because I'm not familiar with it. I know how kind of like how it works, but when people do like the pledges, is it that are you supposed to give them back the money, or they're like, we're putting this in your idea, you wing it, you go do your thing?
So it works in different ways depending on your project. So for example, if you're fundraising for a film project, maybe you'll give people like access to the film or stuff like that. Some people will just give for the sake of giving. For us, since we're a product company, this was the shoe we were launching. It's called the Lapatette. So we were basically pre-selling the Lapatette in advance. So basically saying, okay, here's the samples, we've made them. If you pre-buy now, then we'll be able to make them and deliver them at time X. So people are buying, although there are some people who just made like I support you and this is amazing. And that's how we did it.
Oh, so there are some people who are doing like pre-orders, and there are people who are like just
but majority pre-orders. Yeah, because that's the business.
How much is the shoe?
For Kickstarter, it was going for 10K. The retail price is going to be 12,000 bob.
Listen, which is, I'm sure if you saw the show that I'm a big fan of, you understand how much shoes cost.
The shoes are expensive.
And
even making them is expensive.
But I'll tell you another good thing is like, if it's a shoe, a running shoe, and it's coming from Kenya.
Exactly.
Do you know how much more value that adds?
Exactly.
Like somebody to rock it and say like, this is actually from Kenya.
Yeah, and people do. Sometimes I just get random photos of my phone from people from in the middle of nowhere just running in our shoes. And sometimes you have that surreal feeling of, are they actually wearing Endas,
And I'll actually, can I buy them though? Or I have to wait though?
This day 10, this one's called day 10. This one is available. Okay. This one, no. It's not available yet. You just have the samples.
Okay, I want the exclusive ones. I might just pledge for these ones, because anybody who knows me, I'm like into that unboxing thing and stuff. Yeah. So I think I'll just make my pledge as well on this.
Yeah, that would be cool. So financing was a problem, and also just capacity. You want to make shoes. Running shoes, nobody has done it before, so you kind of meet people who are like, why would you want to do something like that, And then also just finding a factory that is willing to do this work. We spoke to a lot of factories, we got a lot of no's, but we finally settled to work with Umoja rubber products. So what I love about Umoja is, and shout out to Umoja, is I like their leadership. They see opportunity, So while everybody else was like, no, impossible, why would you do that? Umoja was like, okay, this looks interesting, it doesn't hurt to try. And I think that's the mentality we need in Kenya, just to give a chance. What's the worst that could happen if it fails?
Is Umoja run by, I'm sorry to ask, but I have to ask, is it run by Kenyans?
They're Kenyans.
Okay, kudos to those Kenyans, because like we're having this conversation, and it's just like you need to understand, it's not like a lot of people will say yes. For them to say that.
And it's okay, like even Umoja, we found them again through a reference, because we talked to everybody who we thought had a factory. And then there was a guy in Canada, surprisingly, who basically wrote an email and says,
what I'm talking about? You see what I'm talking about?
And he wrote to us and he's like, oh my God, you guys are doing an amazing thing. And so when we had a call and he was asking, what do you need? And he said, we are really looking for someone who has that capacity. He's like, I have the guys for you. And they're in Kenya, like, call them up.
And this person is communicating from?
From Canada. Yeah.
Kenyan?
No, he's not Kenyan.
I rest my case.
No, I'm not saying put
No. But we are talking about like the things that we just need to change as well. You see, and I also understand. I'll give you a very good example, because of course, like for me, I can mention, because last year I was going to. Is it Kenya Tourism Expo? Yeah, and I was just applying to, go do my little interviews with people there and everything. So I was like, I'm applying online. I'm like, how I'm supposed to get a press card. So there's a number there I'm supposed to call. So when I'm calling the number, thank God, first of all, I had enough credit. I'm calling South Africa.
Oh, wow.
To get a pass to get in KICC. Because I had actually gone there the first day and I got to the entry place, and I'm like, I'm press, I do this kind of thing, I do interviews, I want to interview people and everything. So unfortunately it's Kenyans who are telling me no. So I went back home. I was like, okay, I don't want to pay because I'm adding value to this. So I wrote an email and everything, and then I'm given the number to call. So I called South Africa. They call me the next day. They have my card ready and everything. Then I come and have access to a Kenyan event through South Africans. Yeah, so I mean, I'm just trying to explain that, I understand what you're saying, because okay, I don't even, let's just go on with this conversation. So what are those like just the only hardships you'd say? And
I think it's just also like trying to do what we are doing. I think just also at a personal level, you do meet a lot of people who cast doubt, but I think it's just kind of just seeing the vision. The one thing is, the vision is in your head, it's in your head. And it's not that people are hating on you if they are not seeing it.
They just don't
because
understand.
They don't understand it and they haven't seen it. So I think sometimes, you're just human, and sometimes you just have those days when you're like, But I think it kind of just, it's important to really have a team around you that is pushing you on. And I have to say, I'm very, very lucky to have the team that I have. Like my team is amazing. Like, trust me, I'm always telling people, I'm like, I'm not just joking when I say, like, I love my team. Like, I feel like we are in it together, and that just makes it more worthwhile. And I see the vision, and I think they see the vision too. Not I think, we all see the vision. And that makes it easier to go along.
And just talking about that, it's not really, it's not easy, like we've said. It's like just even just putting the team together and everything, because I can say, like, even for me when I was starting off, like the podcast and everything, like the first question that everybody keeps asking me is like, so how are you making your money? I'm like, you see, you're looking at the wrong.
It's true.
You're looking at the final, like, output. Like, you don't even understand everything else that entails. Because it's like whoever the first person who came up, like the person who was making the bulb, you think they were thinking of like money wasn't in their mind.
That's
the
true.
first thing.
That's true.
But you see the bigger picture.
Yeah,
you have to see the bigger picture.
That's true. And it's just seeing the bigger picture is even just figuratively, literally, the bigger picture. To see it, you have to step back. It's not something that's like right in front of you. So there's a whole journey to get to it, and it's just doing your level best. For me, it's always about doing your best, so that you don't get there and you say, could I have done this, or should I have done this? Just doing your level best to do what you need to do, and also just doing your level best for what's good for your life, like I keep reiterating, like life is one. It's not a rehearsal.
Yeah, those hours, and we all have the same 24 hours.
Yeah, it's true. So I always keep saying you can't get to the end and start saying, I wish I did this and I wish I did that. So for me, I try to do as much as possible if I can. Sometimes there are resource limits, but if I can do something, I do it, because it's your life.
Okay, I saw something else like online, because I have to do my research and everything about just like what you've I think social impact and community foundation.
Yes.
Yeah, what's that all about? Because like I see how you've put like everything in place.
It's my baby.
Everything in place. Because like when I just saw it, I was so intrigued, because you've tried to like just Enda is not just like a product.
It's
not just a product. Like there's so many things that Yeah, so just tell me about that a bit.
That comes from, remember what I told you, coming from LSE and just wanting to do something that puts Africa in good light.
Yeah.
So that was something that I was very dedicated to do, and that was also something that my co-founder is very dedicated. He has background in doing social campaigns like change.org, those two signatures, you do petitions, like just giving people a voice. And the one thing we decided is we'll structure this company in a way that we want to structure this company, and that means giving back, looking at Africa's history. It's always been extraction and suffering. Like we are not, even just looking at our history, Africans are not like that. We are generous people. I don't come and take everything from you. Like, we mind the community. We had communal grazing, communal everything. Yeah. And then came colonialism and all this, and capitalism. I'm not saying that we go to socialism, but I'm just saying extremities that are leading to very high inequality. So if and that's also the reason why we said we're making them in Kenya. And it took us a whole year to do that, by the way. In China, it's a day. I always say, what took us a year happens in a day in China.
And you had that option.
We had that option. And I can't say that it wasn't. At some point, it becomes so difficult that I'm like, you know what? Let's just do it. And then afterwards, after we've ranted, we're like, okay, you know what? We had a mission. Let's stick to that.
Let's stick to it.
But I just feel like that blueprint has not worked for Africa. Like, we can't just be people who exploit communities and don't give back. And what's the purpose of building something so beautiful, but you can't enjoy it because you have to build a equally high fence with electricity because the people around you are not to that level yet. So we have to kind of just give back, and that's something I wanted to do, and I wanted to create so that whether I'm in Enda in the next 5 years or not, whoever comes in, he's stuck with it. They have to give back.
Yeah.
So we give 2% of all our revenues to a community fund, and that fund is basically invested in different community projects. So the first one we did, it was our first one, so we were still trying to figure out where should we focus on. It was very broad, and we unfortunately limited it only to Nairobi because, believe it or not, we are a very small team. The capacity is stretched.
It's not easy to actually reach out as much as you want.
No, so we live. So that 2% basically from revenue, and that's a big statement for me because I said I want us to commit. It's not from profit, because profit is after you've deducted all your things. And revenue is a commitment. You're like saying, okay, ata kama I'm making a loss, I am going to give back to this community. If I grow, we grow. If I go down, we go down together, but at least kind of giving that up. So 2%. The first one, their first grantees, organization called Hoops for Kids. They live in Korogosho, and they just help kids to learn life skills through basketball. And I remember the first time, like when I saw the videos of all the applicants who had done it, I actually cried. I was like, this is what I want to do with my life, you know?
Yeah.
Because there's so much opportunity,
Yeah.
so much. And I
Yeah.
feel bad that these kids are in a place where they're limited by their environment, and they're smart kids.
Yeah.
It's just that because they are not born into like a rich family or stuff like that, but they're still
unfortunate.
Kenyans. They're still Kenyans, you know. So that fund, our impact is just to find a way to give back to the community, so that we say we are bringing the benefits of the running industry to Kenya. It's not just Enda making money, but it's about Enda investing in communities. It's about Enda doing stuff. It's about us doing things for athletes, like just being an alternative to what is considered mainstream. And our key 3 things are: A, to create jobs in Kenya. So basically, we look at how much money is going into wages because people now have jobs. We are also doing the community development, the one that we talked about, where 2% of the revenue is going back to the community.
Yeah.
And our big one is to change the way the world sees Kenya. You remember how you said you were learning about Kenya, and you thought, oh, they're just going to be having these riff-raff shoes.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
And
yeah.
I'm like, no.
Yeah, yeah.
We are a global brand.
Yeah.
And we are capable of kind of just creating high quality shoes that you would look at on the market and you'd be like, they are from Africa too, and they're not a sob story of give me money. Is literally competing as equals.
As any other person is doing.
Exactly.
And since you've mentioned that, I was watching, there's a video that I saw, and it's somebody who shared it, somebody from a different country. And I was like, who's sharing this video of Patrick Lumumba? And it was somebody from a different African country, but Lumumba was saying it was just mind-blowing what he was saying, because he said...
Lumumba DRC or Lumumba ours?
Our Lumumba. Come on, our Lumumba. Can we at least credit our own for now?
No, we are, but Patrice Lumumba is also a giant in Africa.
I know, but it was just... What? No, wait. Okay, so yeah, I was saying... I don't want to forget what I was saying. Yeah, Patrick Lumumba. So somebody had shared this video of Lumumba, and what he was saying is like, it's time that Africans started telling their stories.
Yes.
And the way you've said, like, it doesn't have to look like, that pity party anymore.
Yeah,
that, we are doing this for Africans. We're jumping in the wagon to do it. He said something very important, because we have everything we need right now. And we let Al Jazeera come to our country. Okay, not let. They can come, but they're the ones who are telling our stories. BBC is coming to Kenya. They're telling our stories. CNN is coming. They're telling our story.
I'll throw that back to you and say, don't you have a Kenyan media?
No. But here's the thing. But we, like, for me, why it's important for me to do such podcast sessions, it's because if somebody's listening or watching this, they just get a very different perception, because like I don't have like any other producer who's gonna twist this to a whole different other story. Like for the first time a Kenyan is able to raise funds and do like we're actually doing this. So we get to tell our stories the way we want to tell our stories, and we are accountable to that. So I mean, there's no pity party here.
No.
Like, we're actually making these business moves on our own, but it's up to us to do that. Yes, we do have like our media.
That's a session for another.
See, that's just a whole different podcast. But you see the things that are being highlighted, like on our media. Maybe it's the repeated politics that
politics 365 days a year.
Yeah, and that's what's being fed like in our minds over and over again. So if you're watching the news, it's the same story over and over and over and over
but
again.
I also say push it to the consumer. Look for, verify what you're being told. Look for alternative stories. Like it's.
But not everybody. And you see, I think at some point, the more the things that you keep feeding your mind, subconsciously you start thinking like that. You start becoming that, and now you'll see like the people that are being role models. Like its kids want to be maybe politicians and grab all the money that they can, because that's what the picture of success is in Kenya. It's either that or glorified maybe socialites and all these other different and easy ways, kind of like, why can't you have like a show where entrepreneurs are just talking about like doing these things like in a large scale, in an international platform, bringing in investors. It's a bit exhausting thinking about it, but like I've said, it's up to us. Like if we have social media platforms and we can paint the narrative in a very different way.
That's true. Like we own it. I just find that there's no excuse because we have the tools at hand.
Yeah.
You can find information or you can. So it's just most of, are we aware of our biases and are we feeding them or are we not doing something different? Yeah.
Okay. And now before we just, because I know we've pushed the podcast, before we wrap it up, and since you've mentioned something that's really important, how does like just social media play a role in what you're doing? Because, as much as we would want to say like, social media is not like a thing that now would make you like go through this like just whole just a lot of stress wrapped around it because maybe of comparisons when it comes to like somebody who's trying something else, they seem to be more successful and everything. How do you just cope with that, like just kind of mentally? How do you like, are you active on social media, and what roles do they motivate you? Does it at times get to your head and you're like, why all these other people like just too successful, and why does it seem like what role does social media play in your just like your journey? Are you using it for your own for your advantage? Do you detach yourself from it when you don't need to be there?
So social media is actually something like I preferred not being on social media, but then came Enda and you have to tell people about your product and yourself. So I went from not wanting to be in social media to kind of just establishing myself on social media. But I have to say, one of the things is just basically finding what platform works for you.
Yeah.
And initially I was very much on Facebook, but Facebook was also because it was a very closed group of friends and family, like people I knew.
Yeah.
And then along came Instagram, and Instagram kind of just has the limitless possibilities. But on Instagram, it's kind of like I have a public profile.
Yes. You have to let people in now.
Yeah, you have to let people in, but it's also kind of just drawing a line. First, I try to limit like how much I am on social media. Just also because about the sheer amount of work that needs to be done, and you cannot do work if you're scrolling.
I can waste your time as well.
5 minutes becomes 2 hours, and you're like, wait, what happened?
True.
Yeah, but I'd have to say, I don't know, I'd say like know yourself, but I don't even think that happens because as human beings, we are just drawn to comparing ourselves to other people. And comparison is good if it kind of motivates you to be somewhere amazing. But I'm also aware that I do mentor some young ladies, and I do know there's a lot of pressure to look good, feel good, be happy, be on vacation,
be successful.
Yeah. And the reality is that life doesn't work that way. Yeah. So kind of just balancing that. And I don't know who said that social media is basically everyone's highlight reel. So they'll show you like the best. But then behind that, we all have our moments of sadness, grief, other emotions that are not necessarily sharing worthy. So it's kind of just knowing yourself and saying, this is my limit, and sometimes taking a break from it. I'm not that social media savvy, so I do try to get help once in a while. And I have an amazing team that tries to help me do that. But the thing about social media is that it's very interactive, so there's a lot of pressure to keep kind of putting content out there.
Yeah.
And the content is always like, again, social media is all about authenticity, but then how do you become authentic if there's other parts of your life that you just want to
keep private?
Keep private, yeah. So I can't say that I've mastered it. I'm still a student of it. And that also is what makes me think if I am this old and I'm still trying to figure it out, how about the younger kids who are on social media at such a young level?
Yeah.
And there's so much out there. So I think it's just taking caution and knowing your purpose in terms of what am I doing there. If you find that it is taking more than building, then it's,
just try and detach yourself from it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, so let's just talk about there's something that you mentioned in regards to the shoe. What was it?
I was just basically the Kenyan elements of the shoe. So this one is our first model. It's called the 10. This one is called the Lapatet. The 10 is a lightweight trainer, really great for short runs. The Lapatet is a daily trainer. It's mostly for longer runs. So this one, again, they name it 10, kind of just giving that name of the place where everybody goes to train.
Home of champions, yeah.
So literally the champion shoe.
Did you have you gone to E10?
Yeah. My shags is near LD, so that's that's home. Yeah.
And speaking of which, since you're talking about this, how much untapped talent have you seen? Have you seen how people run?
Gosh, people, let me tell you, we see just a drop of I can't even say a tank.
Yes.
There's so many people who are good. The system will only allow so many to get through, and it's not that it's a bad system, it's just very competitive. And there's so many athletes who, were they not Kenyan, they would be like national level in other countries, but because we are so good, we have a lot of competition. And that's basically what Enda is doing, kind of saying, okay, not everybody gets to be in the elite team, but that doesn't mean not everybody is that good. So can we find athletes who are that good and don't necessarily have that path, but are willing to try something new, and we just work with them to kind of take
so you're actually because my next question was about to be like, are you planning at least to wrap around to make sure that Enda partners with some kind of athletes, if you spot young kids who have a certain kind of drive and everything?
We do have athletes. We have about 6 athletes in our stable. They are great kids. I don't want to call them kids, but when I look at them, because I feel like they're so young. They have so much ambition, and they keep. One of them was, I think, one among top 3 in the recent Eldoret Marathon. One of them broke a record in the Amazing Masai Marathon. I mean, it's just, as I said, opportunity. It's just finding athletes who really just need someone to work with them and show them around and take care of them. A lot of there's just so much when you meet the world out there. And we just need to make sure that our athletes are prepared, that they are not going to be thrown under the bus or that something happens and they're by themselves. Just having that presence where we take care of our athletes.
And since you mentioned that, I had also mentioned earlier that I did a short documentary there.
Yes.
And there's just one thing that I also noticed, and even a lot of the runners, for them to get certain opportunities, they have agents who are in UK. I mean, European agents. That's what I'm talking about. So I mean, I
and
hope
it's also just the language barrier, the intimidation. You're first time on a plane. There's just so much that
I think
we really need to just protect our athletes and really just make sure that they are taken care of as best as they can. And one of the things, for instance, I was just thinking about that, and we should start giving interviews in mother tongue.
Listen,
they have the capacity to find translators.
They have translators there. The one time that I see a runner finishing and they actually speak in Swahili or Kalenjin, I'd just start clapping. You know why?
Because
Russians do it, Chinese do it.
When you feel like I'm not so confident and I have to speak, and you have all these things going through your mind. So I just feel like there's so much to be done in athletics.
That's where Enda should actually. I think that's a really nice role for you to actually come in and teach even the way you've mentioned the 6 athletes that you've started doing something with. Teach them of those little things.
We are
take them under your wing, because I mean it just makes sense with the kind of brand that you have. It just makes sense.
So that's exactly what we're doing. It's just as I said, Enda is not just the product. It's literally just lifting Kenya to a point where we can say we are known for the best runners and the best running shoes. So let's the country benefit something from that.
And then I also saw something to do with New York Marathon, or is it London Marathon as well?
Yes.
Is it the 2?
Like we did have a run, I think, last year's New York Marathon. Shout out to Davis Munene. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He ran in the 10s, which was pretty amazing. And we did have someone run the recent London Marathon in our shoes. Surprisingly, he's called Enda. He's from I know, it's like what a coincidence. Yeah, so we do kind of get pictures of people wearing our shoes in like marathons across the world, and it's really satisfying to see that there are people who actually get what we are doing. They support the brand, they believe in the brand, and yeah, it's cool.
Once you get that runner who crosses that line,
we are going to get them.
And they're in Enda shoes, and then they're just talking, they're being interviewed, and then they say, you know what, like even I'm rocking Enda, and this is what made me like run fast. It's a wrap.
Much product placement.
It's a wrap for you guys. I mean,
but I think the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a step, and for everybody who kind of sees like it's so impossible, it's so big, I'm always like, I take it a day at a time. Have we survived today? Have we done a good thing? Have we done our job? Then we live to fight tomorrow, So it's literally a step-by-step journey.
Interesting. So, I mean, I think just for the podcast, like we've summed up, like, almost like everything.
I feel like my life has been
like everything that needs to be talked about, like we've thrown it out there, and like you've just provided so much information and insight to what your company entails, because I don't think even like just mainstream media is doing enough justice for what you have going on. I think you're underrated with what you're doing. I think we just need to throw like more and more content to highlight like just what has going on, and the podcast is here, and we do so many other things. So if you need anything, just don't hesitate to reach out and just have that conversation.
Definitely.
And when it comes to content, let's do something.
Absolutely, that would be awesome.
And then do you have anything else that you have going on? Oh, last thing. Before the last thing. Sorry. Before. Just two more questions.
Just a movie.
Just two more questions. One, you're doing like a TEDx thing, right?
Yes, I'm doing it today actually.
And just what kind of role do you think that just plays in like just the current society, or just like even just the Kenyan climate? What does that platform mean for you?
I think TEDx is amazing. First of all, I never thought I would be
well, here you are.
Yeah, I'm like, is this me? Pinch me. So, but I think the beauty I love about TEDx Parklands, which is the local affiliate that's sponsoring this, is exactly what you said about telling Kenyan stories. It's like literally, like when I met the speakers, like we've been practicing for a long time, by the way. We've been meeting every week. But when you meet people and you hear their stories, it's like standing ovation. And it's just our stories of how people have overcome, from like a photographer who has told the Kenyan story to like a woman who has always been the exception and ended up becoming like the first female head of the Architectural Association, to someone who's sat in all these truth and reconciliation commissions, all this I've learned that we don't tell our stories. Like we know each other, but we seldom do get a chance where you get to listen to how people got to where they are. And this was special just because I've listened to this, because I've seen them grow over time, and I am amazed. And one thing I said during one of the sessions, that sometimes I always used to feel like you're thinking about Africa and everybody else is just thinking about smaller things. Guys, you don't have time to be tribal. There are bigger things
out there that we need to focus on.
Exactly. So meeting these people made me realize that they are allies, that they're actually people in different fields doing different things that are actually like coming. It's underground, but it is stories. I don't know, it's underground, they need to be told more. But it's people doing amazing things in different fields that are really pushing forward yes, we can. It's not about where you come from, it's not about how many resources you have. You listen to these stories and you see people's journeys and you're like, Yani, if they could do it, so can I. So I think TEDx is the local chapter has, like, just telling those stories is important so that people don't see the finished product, because we're in the instant generation of Instagram.
Yeah,
you don't
true.
see it and you're like, oh my God, this guy is so amazing.
True.
You listen to the journey and you respect the process, that there's no shortcut, and that if you want to build something that has a lasting legacy, this is how you do it. And it's important, again, to kind of have those people as role models, because now I know there's this person who is, like, now I have added more people to like my network who I know are doing great things, and kind of just work with each other and see how can we take this Project Kenya and Project Africa forward.
And that's the thing, like even how Gary V keeps putting a lot of emphasis on.
I see you're another fan.
Oh, of course. Like, that journey is what, like, will make you appreciate, like, the end product.
Yes, it's true.
Because if you wake up one day and your Enda is selling out and everything, you won't really understand or respect. Like, that's the thing. That's the thing. Like, it's just like, I mean, you won't understand what it entails to actually get to that point. And I think it's so important for that, like, now that you're also involved in such a platform, so that people can just know what it entails. Like we've said, it's just about, like, now us telling our stories.
True. And so I'm thinking, I think this will air after the talk, so I can
Of
talk
course,
about it now.
of course.
Yeah, so my talk is just essentially what I talked about, like how women, like, because everybody keeps asking, how did you start Enda? How did you start Enda? And I'm like, dude, if I was in a traditional, and by traditional I mean in a place where I was fully in the kitchen, Enda would never have happened. Right?
Which
it
is
would
true.
never have happened. So when
Which
people
is
keep
true.
saying, how do we keep building more Endas? I'm like, you need to let women, and it can't happen without the support of men. Like, it's not like a feminist thing, or I'm just saying it's an opportunity, it's a common sense thing, that if you want more people, especially women, to come up, you have to create an environment where women thrive, and that's kind of on us to do that.
Yeah. And I think it's just important that even, the way you're having, like, we're having this conversation all round, you haven't made it like, a man versus, like, a woman thing.
It's not.
No.
It's not.
And you've actually, like, just highlighted and said, like, how the support system actually boosts you.
Yeah, it does.
Because it's one helping about, it's just one and the other, like, working hand in hand.
It's true.
And that's what makes it, like,
that's what makes it possible.
That's like the Beyonce and Jay-Z story.
Yeah.
Of Michelle and Obama. No, Michelle and Obama. But if you think about it, that's what is, like, lacking right now in, like, even mainstream media.
Yeah.
There's this whole independence thing. Yes, which is good. But we all need one another.
We do need one
Who says,
another.
like, yes, I am making money and everything, I don't need men, or I need multiple women. No. There is a way I can get that partner that I can have, like,
that's why
this.
it's a partnership.
Yeah, exactly.
You work together
Partnership.
to have a common goal. But to do that, you need to be brave enough to not listen to society, because society will tell you all sorts of things. But at the end of it all, it's your life, So it's what works for you, what works for your kids, what works for your wife, a husband, partner, and just building something together. Everything else is just...
Anybody who's listening, I think they've just had, like, the theme of you talking about, like, even just how you're talking about your kids, husband, and business all around. You're just trying to balance everything, and it's so important, because, I mean, we're really lacking that. We're lacking a lot of that, A lot of single moms in Nairobi, and, that number keeps growing. But I think also it's important for, like, just people like you talking about, like, those values and just importance of just, like, that household, which shapes, like I think, like, a lot of what's going on. Like, I mean, it's important. It's very rare, especially for what you have. I don't know people who can have a conversation about, I used to be with my hubby from, like, a certain, like, way back, and he's stuck through all this. Not so many people have similar stories.
He's a wise man.
Other people have, like, so many other different, like, stories. And
I mean, life happens. All I'm just saying is, if you're, like, it's all about support, and it's all about just coming in and saying, what are we doing here? Like, what are we building? What's our vision? And then we work towards that vision. There'll be commentators, noisemakers, opinionators, but at the end of the day, it's your life, man. Like, you have to give each other a chance and not be scared that one of you is going to outshine the other. But it also comes with a lot of trust that this person is not going to make money and then decide to leave me, because that's it's what happens, so someone is afraid of sacrificing themselves because they're not sure that this person is going to stick with them because of, and then we have so many stories in our lives that show us that, oh yeah, so and so, when they made money, they
of course
and then that kind of just builds that whole distrust,
interrupts like with your whole, like even just the whole mindset
like,
that you had in the first place.
Even before you started building,
you already have like trust issues and everything.
So you're not going to, you'll be building but keeping a little bit on the side because you're like, this might happen. But that's again is to not discredit people's experiences, because some people have
gone through that
and kind of gotten burnt. But all I'm just saying is, if it is to happen, it has to be people building a home together. It's not about one person being a servant and the other person is benefiting from personal service, like it has to be well said, and it's very rare to hear that, but that's quite refreshing to hear, and just coming like from you as a woman, like just having that mindset. I mean, it's rare. I mean, we're looking for life partners. Where are they? Where are they with such But sir, just to wrap it up, there's this one question that I normally ask like all my guests. When it just comes to life in general, what's that one thing that you think like you're pursuing like right now, and if you like achieved it, it's gonna give like your life sort of like balance, more meaning, more like just different look in how you look at life, or a different kind of satisfaction? What's that one thing you're in pursuit of right now? It's not a thing, it's a state. No regrets. That's it. Like I do not want to have regrets. So everything I do is geared to, and even for example when I was considering coming back to Kenya, startup life, I was like, will I get back at some point in my life and say I had this great company that I figured I wouldn't have? I was like, oh my gosh, I'll feel regret. Okay, done. Let's go home.
Let's do it.
You're like, I really feel like I want to go, like I want to do something. Like I just feel like my life is led by no regrets. I am very cognizant that life is a gift. Right, like it's just it's not an accident that I'm here, and I don't want to go there and say I should have done this. So for me, that one thing is no regret. There's just no space for regret.
Nice. And that's a very well thought of answer. And if anybody just listens to it, like, it just makes sense. Nobody wants to be at their deathbed and say, like,
I made a lot of money.
No.
Sure, it's not a bad thing to make money.
It's not bad.
Use it, though. Use it to help yourself and to kind of, like, lift other people.
Even just a legacy that you want to leave behind. You want to just, like, people forget about you as long as the people that and are still not here, but we still keep talking about them, like
that's true. Thomas
Luther
Sankara,
King,
Martin
all
Luther
those
King,
all
Patrice
those
Lumumba. I forget this lady's name. She was the mother. Funmilayo Kuti. She was in Nigeria. There's just so many African stories.
Like all those people who've made like a very big impact. Nelson Mandela.
Yeah, that's true.
Muhammad Ali.
That's true.
Those people that we will forever be just talking about them. Those are the kind of legacies that are hard to build right now, but we all like should just be able to like pursue, especially in this social media era. Why not?
Yeah, we should. We need to remember our heroes and what they stood for.
I think we've like really exhausted this podcast.
One last thing. I need to tell you why the Itens are Kenyan.
Oh, yeah.
This one's coming in red, green, and black, which are the colors of the flag. Our spear, the logo is inspired by the spear on the coat of arms. Like you have the two lions holding the spear. So our logo is the spear tip. And then at the bottom of the shoe, you see the word Harambe on the sole.
over
because
here.
it's literally just the spirit of coming together to do stuff. And then here we have 12 lines, which are 12th of December, basically Jamhuri. It's just about freedom, you know.
Okay.
Yeah. And then these geometric patterns rather, are just lifted from Swahili kangas and lesos. You see there's like subtle triangles, subtle, so it's just that inspiration.
What do you mean? Like, I just thought like I did not for a second
There is thought.
take time to think about all those things that you've said.
And then at the back here, this little groove, it represents the Rift Valley, because we've kind of just had an amazing, the little groove over there.
This one, right?
Yes.
This at the back.
Yeah, exactly. So kind of just telling the story of Kenya as well through the shoes. These are the lapatettes. Lapatette is a Kale word for running.
Yeah.
So it was actually suggested by one of our fans, like customers, like supporters.
Yeah.
It also, like all our shoes, just have the word Harambe because, we literally are a project that came to life kwa sababu watu walichanga.
Yeah.
And then we have here the Kikoi and the Kitenge. Kind of just telling that
strong
African
representation
story.
of
And then here now the groove, this actually is a topographical map of Rift Valley that was imprinted. You know those maps we did in geography where you're being given a big thing. So it was kind of lifted here. So somewhere here is a certain location in Rift Valley, and
let's show it on the camera.
Like along this groove, there is a topographical imprint of the Rift Valley. Oh yeah, and the islets, they're like red, green, and black, which is just a subtle nod to
the flag.
Yes. It's coming from the flag. And the waves. The uppers have waves, like the wavy thing. It just came from like observing natural features from the ocean to the grasslands. Like there's always some wavy thing going on.
Yeah.
And that's why we kind of had that design. So the shoes are also like storytellers in a sort. So because now we have to force people to say, I want to buy the 10, and they'll be like, what is the 10?
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, 10 is that small. So I'm like, oh yeah, that's so we're actually telling stories through the product.
Through the shoe as well.
Yes.
See, imagine if that podcast ended without you telling me this. I'd have felt horrible if I saw you explaining this to some other media outlet, and then I was like, what? Why didn't you talk about that?
Yeah, and I forgot there's just one last thing. We actually stuffed them with Kenyan newspapers. So it's kind of like adding to recycling instead of like buying new stuff. But people actually all over the world get to read our newspapers. So we are just generally just telling the story, as we said, in our own way, but also just challenging the norms. And also our shoes come in shoe bags, because we're like, why do we have to create boxes that you open and you throw away immediately? Like there was a whole process that went to create something that you had a millisecond interaction with. So can we do something better? So we try to recycle as much as possible.
Well, that's like just the icing on top of the sugar. Like that's, you see, so many things that that actually makes just a lot of sense with everything that you've said.
Awesome.
And I mean, I don't know. I have nothing else to say but just to wish you like all the best in this amazing journey, because I just see the future projection. I don't even want to say it right now, because but I can just see like you growing to a whole different level, because
that means a lot. It'll give us the encouragement to go.
No, this is very unique. We don't have this, and it just makes sense with everything that you're saying. Design, everything that the shoe has going on, social impact, creating jobs, having a homemade product.
Yes.
Just we need that.
Yeah, we do actually.
Okay, so I think, do you have anything else that you have going on that you can plug on the podcast before we say goodbye?
No, maybe just in truly a spirit, say hi to my mom. I'm kidding, but
Shout outs to your mom. Shout outs to your mom.
Yeah.
And where can people find Enda on social media platforms?
So our Instagram handle is Enda Sportswear. Instagram and Facebook.
Yeah.
Instagram and Twitter we are at Enda Sportswear. Facebook we are at Enda Running. But we are working on putting all that together. Our website is endasportswear.com. So we primarily sell online, which is something I think worth, I don't know, it's worth a discussion with young people when you're thinking you don't have money to pay rent and stuff like that. How do you set up yourself to be an online business that is...
A lot of, Fashion Nova is huge in the States, and they don't have like a lot of stores, but they're pushing their sales.
I know.
We have Uber. Uber doesn't own any cars.
It's true, and that's actually one of the things that I find frustrating with legal regulations, that we don't envision the future, So for example, if you don't have a factory, you're not a manufacturer, and even the person who is like, wait, so what do you do if you don't have a factory? But I keep saying it's the same way we have a relationship with Umoja. People should be able to manufacture things based on what they need and just exit. So that you become like a contract manufacturer. Because at what point will I get the millions to establish a factory?
And especially like in Kenya, how's that going to happen?
Exactly. So we need to see that the limitations are there, but then there's also opportunities to do stuff online, which is one of the reasons why we go online. And we do deliveries in Nairobi same day. Outside Nairobi probably a day or two, and we also do delivery in the US for people who are heading over there.
Okay, I think that's it, guys. We've given you anything. So if you...
He's extracted all information.
I've tried. If there's anything that I forgot, please just DM or post it on the comments, and we can always still have her back.
Yeah, we'll try to answer as much as possible.
So if people also just like want to contact you personally, it's Navalayo on...
Navalayo.o on Instagram. He contacted me on Instagram.
So that's how we made it happen in less than 24 hours.
That's true. It was yesterday evening, and I was just laughing. I'm like, okay, let's do it.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
So thanks for coming to this platform.
Thank you for having me.
Appreciate, and I hope this is not the last conversation that we're having, and we can just work on so many other things like in future. And just with that being said, guys, another amazing epic episode of the Kiss Capids podcast featuring Navalayo of Enda Sportswear. A very promising sneaker, running shoe, apparel made in Kenya and the future projections are just like endless. I wish you nothing but the best in your journey.
Thank you very much,
and I hope to bring you again in another episode.
Awesome. Cool.
That's it, guys. Another epic episode, Kiss Capids podcast. Make sure you subscribe to iTunes, Facebook, YouTube. We're also now on Spotify. I'm trying to link you guys for people in the Android platform. I'm coming. Just give me like 2-3 weeks.
Please do.
Well, I'm
exist.
I'm fixing this in the next 2 weeks. So I hope you guys are patient enough to let me go through the research process and make sure we are in the right platform so that nobody's missing out in any of this information that we're trying to put out. Thanks again. It's been another epic day. Till next time, thanks for watching and thanks for listening. It's the Kiss Capids podcast. Goodbye.
Bye.